Hello, everybody. We'll get started here in just a few moments. So whenever you are ready, feel free to start populating the Q&A, and we can start getting some eyes on it. Like I said, we'll probably start taking our first question here in just the next couple of minutes, next couple of moments. So it's kind of going to work on a first come, first serve. We've been busy these last couple of days, and I'm grateful for that. But just the earlier you get your question in, the quicker we can get some eyes on it, and we'll answer your stuff first. So. Again, the QA is a good spot for that. All right. Yeah, like I said, there we go. We got some stuff finally coming in. Questions about converter flows, available decisions. I used some converters in the dev environment, but I couldn't find the equivalent in the QA. Cool. We'll start there. We'll get started, like I said, here in about, I don't know, 60 seconds or so, but we did get one question in from Ki Chow. So we'll get started here, like I said, in about, because more people are still piling in. So hopefully we can share some information. Like I said, if you do have a question, go ahead and feel free to populate the QA and we can start putting some eyes on it. All right. I think we are at our 12:02, so we'll go ahead and start answering questions again for the rest of you guys in here. If you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat or the QA. Kiki Chow, I got the question from you. I'll read it out loud, and then you can kind of elaborate. I do have some follow-up questions there for you, but questions concerning converter flows, available decisions, use of converters in dev environment, but you cannot find the equivalent in the QA environment. Can you happen to tell me a little bit of information here? What versions you're on and what converter flows specifically are not there?
Yes, so I was working on a flow. Let me check the decision version first. We are currently on 9.5,
Okay.
and yep. So so when you so when you have a flow and you want to pass in some data, there is an option saying converters, and when you hover over it, it gives you a full list of converters.
Yes.
So in the dev environment, I use some of the converters like n+1 and n-1. And however, when we try to deploy to QA, we found out that they they gives an error of saying there's um, invalid converters because from the QA side, the list is different from what we have in dev.
Interesting. And they're both on 9.5.
Yes, they have the same version.
And
Yep,
you're running,
so
yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
so yeah, so my list is also like different from here. I'm not sure if there are like different converters depending on different step and
I think it's different types. So like if I change this
yes.
type, yeah.
So I think I have it for integer specifically, and I got some converters from that list saying I can do like n+1 and -1. And there's also one called list sum.
All right. Let me see. What are the odds that this was do you work with someone who could have, because you can create custom converter flows, or is there a chance that one of your teammates created a custom converter flow?
I couldn't find it when I searched it in I don't think so. And because I didn't, because it's from the list, of the converter, but not like, can you see there's also another option saying converter? I'm not sure if it's different or not.
That's where I was asking them. They might have
Yeah,
created a new
it's
converter.
not from here, it's from the list. So it's
Yeah.
on in the list. I pick it up from the list. So I think it's from decisions or I'm not sure where the actual converter locates within the system, but I just pick it up from the list and I didn't create it.
Yeah. So can you do me a favor? Are you on your again, if folks have questions, feel free. I see no more people are joining. Can you do me a favor and can you navigate on your machine to um system,
Yes.
and then you're going to go from here, you're going to go to designers, and then we're going to try catalog, and I can just type this out for you. System
Designers catalog.
catalog, then towards
Yep.
the bottom, system defaults, it should be on there. And then
System defaults.
converter
Yes.
flows.
Converter flows. Yes.
Okay. So in here, do you have those flows? Which
I
environment are you looking at
I
right now?
don't have I'm looking at def, so I don't have the flow that I was using in here.
Okay, so that means it was probably a custom created. That's my
Okay.
guess, is that it was a custom created, um, which you would have to likely migrate as well. Give me a second to kind of think about the logic there. You said you're on 9.5, so um, there would be. Let me think of the easiest way to do this. And if Gregory or Jared, if you guys have some insight, converting over a converter flow through the environments.
I think I've
Is that
got insight into why it's not there, but I'm still trying to think of a solution. So,
yeah.
Kiki, what probably happened is, and we can confirm this, of course, in your environment. This may result in a support ticket, but something to note is that you're not seeing it in this list of flows here, right? And is that on
No.
your dev or your QA that you're checking?
Now I only have access to dev, so I'm checking on my dev side, and there
Okay.
are much more flows from the list than
Okay.
here. Yeah.
So what might be happening is it is possible that those converter flows that were created in that environment did not get sent into the repository when it was initially uploaded. So when you pulled them into the new environment, there weren't access to those flows in QA. That is what I'm
Right.
guessing happened. We would need to check that, of course. I don't want to say for certain that's how this occurred. But if that is how this occurred, then you would want to first locate whatever project those converter flows are in, see if it's part of the project that you're using or if it's part of a separate project that has a dependency to that project, and then make the correct deployment to the repository with those converter flows. Because
Okay.
if you're not seeing them in here, then yeah, they probably weren't created by the system, but rather by a different user. Whether they created them
Okay.
in the project you deployed or a different project, I am not certain.
And you can search up here to get some more information about
Yeah,
them.
so I want to ask how do I locate the converter flow? So I have the name of the converter. I tried to search it in the search bar, but it didn't return anything.
Okay, so you have the name of the converter. You tried searching it up here and you said you don't have anything.
Yes, it says no result found.
Okay. And again, at some point, I might advise, just because I don't want to break anything right now about the on the just troubleshooting blindly here. Maybe I will double down and re-advise kind of what Greg said about the support ticket at some point, so they can work with you and see your screen. We don't want you sharing anything because we post this to YouTube and don't want to expose
Yes,
data
okay.
unneeded. But what I would advise is if you went up here and you searched for it and you said converter and you hit enter
Yes.
and you said you're not seeing it
Oh,
at all.
okay. I searched it for the exact name.
Yeah,
Like
I would do a
it's
partial. So like N plus or whatever you said it was.
yeah, it's like n underscore plus underscore one, and I
Yeah.
couldn't find it. Yeah.
Yeah, we're
I
not going to have
actually
that.
like just raised a support ticket and maybe yeah, maybe I will try to get some. I was just like asking. if there's
Yeah.
like a quick solution or
And they're
copy
probably
paste.
it may be relatively quick, but like I said, once you get to these converters, like let's say I pick one of these, right? Um, let's say I pick one, right? Um, you should be given the option over here to kind of see that flow. I have to find it. It's right here. You can find more
Oh,
information
okay.
about how that flow was maybe made and stuff like that.
Okay.
So like when you go to your converter, if you hit the pencil, you can look at this information. And again, this flow is used system wide. Editing is not recommended, but you can figure out information about maybe who made it, what the actual name of it is, and some,
Um,
like the flow
can
ID and things like that.
can you show me again where
Uh,
did you
yeah, sure. I'll clear this all
okay,
out and start from the
converter.
beginning.
Oh, I cannot see the little edit icon from the side.
Yeah, so you go to convert. Yeah, you pick once you have a converter, it'll give you this
Yep,
pencil.
that it's not in it. I don't
So
have that little pencil.
this says converter, and then there's no pencil here.
There is only a plus sign, but not a
What happens when you
pencil.
click the plus sign?
It it asks me to pick or create new flow.
Huh. That leads me to believe that there's nothing in it's a named converter with nothing in it. But is that converter working? Is it actually doing what you want it to?
It's doing what I want to in the dev, but it cannot
Okay.
pick up in the QA because they couldn't find that flow at all.
Yeah. Like I said, I apologize for maybe being dismissive, but I just think it's one of those things that having a support ticket, having someone walk through with you. If you can't
Okay.
click the pencil and see the information, I we're kind of troubleshooting double blind there, like both blind in the
Okay,
capacity that we
sure.
don't know where it is,
Yes.
and blind in terms of I can't really see what you're seeing.
Yep, I understand. And I have another question about like we also deleted a flow in the dev environment, but then it still exists in the QA and like something like with the total number of entities in dev and in QA is different. So is there a quick way to check like to like get a list of the all the entities and then we can check the difference between the two?
Um, is there a quick way? A quick way to get all
So
entities
we
via
yeah,
the
we can
internet.
find out that like from the entities, it shows that the total number is different. Like there's like an all entities.
In the QA. So yeah, and if you go to settings, and you go to repository, there is a resource by resource, and you can compare what branch. I think it's in, if you go to, not there, go to designers, and
Design.
then go to repository. And then what you can do is you can see all the different projects. And so the first thing I would check is make sure that once you check in something from dev into the repo, it doesn't automatically get deployed to QA. You have to actually check out that project on QA so
Yes.
that
Yes.
revisions are the same. Okay, cool. Then what you can do is go ahead to resources by project, Robert, the other tab right there. And then what you can see all the different resources. So the form starter bundle, I can see everything inside of that project and I can compare, okay, I have these items and it gives you the count there. Then if you need another view for that, there is also a project differences where you can go to the project difference and then you can calculate differences. So go ahead and click on calculate difference. It's not going to
I
show
don't
up
think I have
anything.
repo set up. Yeah.
You don't, but what this will do is you can pick the project that you have. See, we have no repo connected here, but once you probably do, and it will show you all the projects. You pick the project you want to calculate, and it will show you what are the resources on the server and what are the resources on the repository, and then compare if there's any differences. And so that would be the best way to kind of get that information.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Maybe I will also raise another support ticket for that for the difference from like because it's on the same version, but we get like different information and entities on the
Are you on
dev
the
and QA side. Yeah.
if you checked out the same revision, I don't think that would be possible. Because at that point, it's going to say we have the same stuff and the same stuff. And whatever you remove on that revision would also be removed on that version. Now, what could happen is you could be on a different branch. And then in that case, no matter what happens from dev affect your repository, it won't be affected by your QA branch because it's not part of trunk. So that's the thing that you'll want to that could
Okay.
check there.
Okay, sure. I will check. Thank you so much for
Mhm.
for the help.
I've given you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I've given you a query you can run as well in the chat to be able to check that on dev and QA in the query editor. Just if you want a Excel export of that to take a look. And additionally, in there in the chat is also the email for reaching out to support.
Okay. Yep, sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you for the questions and all that. We got a kind of a follow-up, a tag on to that from Grant. It says, I've heard of QA. Maybe I was supposed to say I haven't heard of QA, but what is that? Is that another environment like dev? I know our organization will only have dev, repo, and prod, so I was just kind of curious, since I hear people refer to it. I have never seen it before. Yeah, QA, quality assurance. Yeah, it depends on the um, server production type stuff you have set up with your organization. Certain organizations may not have it, but QA is going to be like a pull, but like kind of the last fence, the kind of the last wall before production. So, in a real broad sense, like this isn't this is not going to be perfect. Um, this is not a perfect analogy or graphic, but essentially, and again, this is something I made a long time ago, but you have quality assurance. So you have your development, you have your quality assurance, and you have you have your repo, you have quality assurance, and you have production on the right side. Quality assurance is generally going to be like it depends on how your organization is set up, how many servers you wanted to set up, how many servers you guys wanted to host. It's generally like a last kind of wall before production. Again, dev pushes to repo, those get pushed to branches. Quality assurance can then push to a branch, send information back to dev, kind of as a last wall, just checking quality. But if you work on a small team, let's say you work on a team of 2 people or 3 people, it probably doesn't make sense to have a QA because you're going to be doing the exact same thing in QA that you did in dev. Like if you are the dev and you are the QA, it's not really an effective use of QA because it's hard to catch things when you're the one who made them. It's kind of like a spot for an extra set of eyes if your organization can provide for it. So does that make some kind of sense on there? Yes, because I'm the only developer. Yeah, that makes sense. Exactly. Cool. Yeah, so if you're the only developer along with someone who manages it, yeah, it wouldn't make sense for you to have a final checkout when you're the one who made it because it's really, best for like a last set of eyes. But if you're working on a small organization or just, a smaller deployment, yeah, it's going to go through those 3: dev, repo, and production. But QA is like if you can allocate the resources for it, but then you have to have another server and all that stuff. So, yep, cool. Any other questions? Grant, do you have any? I can unmute you if you'd like, or anybody. If Kiki, if you got more questions, anybody else? We got a relatively full room here today. I'm open to any questions. We got plenty of decisions people on this side of the line that can help you. I'm open to anything you guys got. So let me know. Okay. Till then, I'll kind of just show off some stuff that I think is maybe underutilized. Um, yeah. So again, feel free to interrupt me at any given time. People are, if you need to chat, QA, interrupt me. I can gladly walk down any of those lines. But essentially, some stuff that I think that people don't recognize is obviously in flows, you can do a lot of work. And in your broad system settings, you're given options and given dashboards to manage stuff like that. But down here under this settings section of system, you're given a ton of settings that you can change for how your environment interacts with you. So like something that I've been doing for a lot of our training instances is going through and editing the portal settings to make it a little more of a seamless project process for people logging into like training instances. If anyone had those training instances, but stuff, all the way down to session timeout. saying, hey, how quickly or slowly does the session time out? Keep in mind that will change how often you get shown logins. Portal header logos, things along those lines. Title bars for parent-child Chromeless settings. There's lots and lots of settings here in this portal settings section that you can utilize to customize your portal in decisions. You can set minimum password sections. So if you're just doing testing and hey, I don't want to have a super long password, you can change that. Or the inverse. You want to have something super secure, you can change it there as well. Lots and lots and lots of options there in that portal settings. And again, that's system settings, portal settings. See if anything else popped up in the chat. That's not. But yeah, you're also given options for when you install modules in here. So like USPS, OpenAI settings. This is where you would configure your API keys. But again, it's kind of an expansion of this. I know this can be kind of intimidating at times. You click through here and you say, wow, that's a lot of options. But just know that under the settings section, you have some more linear kind of processes through here, through there. Anthropic AI, again, a module that I've installed. Common AI module that I've installed, Google Gemini, things like that. So, like I said, feel free to give me a prompt here, way to drive. If not, I'll kind of just do some more perusing. What else is inspiring here? I guess, we can talk about some of the module stuff. I think that's kind of an important thing. If you're still trying to learn, you're trying to launch and you're trying to learn here. Modules are going to help you. They're going to help with a lot of the integrations and kind of growing pains and the friction of implementation with some of these third-party providers, right? A lot of the stuff that we do here, you can do yourself manually by setting up your integrations, but these kind of help streamline that process through modules. On the other side of the modules thing, say like maybe you don't want to streamline your integration, but you want to streamline some builds. If you go to where your project hub is, on top right, you have the App Store, and you have these kind of pre-built out projects that we like to call accelerators. And these are going to, again, reduce that friction to deployment. You can use partial sections of these. You can move them out of this. But, installing one of these is going to kind of give you a the option. Let's see here. CSS generator app. It's going to give you flows and it's going to give you, forms, workflows, things along those lines that you can maybe implement or reverse engineer for your own kind of projects. So again, I kind of ran that one because I just maybe we'll mess with that here in a second. But something on a larger scale, like I've done videos on Playbook Activity Manager. This is a massive monolithic project, as well as where is it? Loan origination is also a massive monolithic project. I've made videos on both of these. Oh, we're getting some in the chat. Let's go. Nice. How does CSS work in decisions? Do you have any examples of how that would work? I've seen some of the forms. You can use custom CSS options. You upload that CSS somewhere to your project to use that. Yes, a number of great questions. Super good. Thank you. Yeah, I'll show you. You have a handful of options there. I'm going to just put this in the chat because come on. I'll put this in the chat for you just because it's a worthwhile it is a worthwhile watch. There's going to be a lot of information kind of all up at front. But yes, so CSS, you're going to have a couple different options depending on if you're an 8 and 9. Essentially, you're going to get CSS into decisions. And you can do that, I believe, through designers, CSS, and you can add certain style sheets here, right? So these style sheets will do certain things based on the code that is written in CSS. So you might have CSS based on a font, based on any number of things, right? I didn't mean to download that, but this is what it looks like. Okay, so you have that. You can apply it broadly to all things in decisions, in system settings, but you can also deploy it individually, kind of at an individual, in an individual way. So here's what I mean by that. Let's say I have this form, if it ever loads up. Sorry, I got slow connection here. Give it about 5 seconds before I restart this. All right. Let's say I've got these individual elements, right? Let me just add a whole bunch of stuff here. Right. You're given options for CSS. You're given option for CSS in a number of different places. So clicking on subsections and view, you can add CSS classes to certain elements, as well as if you click an element itself and you go down here to view, if you have CSS that will work with that element, it will show up here. I may have to make some small changes and adjust some stuff in here, but I got to remember because version 9 and version 8 are different, but I can always hop. Are you on version 9 or version 8 is a good question before I walk too far down the wrong road. 9. Okay, nice. Cool. So let me just make sure that in 9. Here, I'll even walk you through my troubleshooting process. Look, man. I don't know off the top of my head, so I'm going to go to documentation because I know that I'm on version 9 up here. I can go to CSS on a page, CSS in forms. Why not? Here's a predefined class. You can kind of mess with it. But again, those predefined classes should show up if the options are there. I'm just trying to figure out. Oh, look, we got a version 8 screenshot. So here's that setting default, right? Setting defaults. We talked about that where it will apply to everything you make from here on out. But I was trying to show maybe the tail end of that. Let me check one more place to see if I got to define it as a constant or as a dependency. Apologies. Does not look like I'm seeing anything about it in version 9. But yeah, it should show up. It should show up on here. Let's see if we can find an element or something like that. Behavior. Nope. View. We're still just getting that same old options there. You can also allow for runtime CSS. So depending on what data comes in based on certain things, based on logic in your flow, it'll change the CSS on the form itself. So you might have specific CSS if they spell it out a specific way. If they come in and they click a prompt that says, hey, I'm part of HR, certain CSS will load on the next form. Or if they click they're part of IT, certain CSS will load on the next form. That is also a dynamic option there for you. And again, I just don't think I have anything set up on this. So I'm gonna hop over to 8 real fast where I'm almost certain I do. That will work, and I'm gonna show you here on an element in one of these forms, just because I don't think I have anything set up on mine. Nope, that ain't a good form. Yep, so here, because I have these that are available to be I can change the button type based on those CSS classes, as well as individual elements. You can do the same thing. So here this says button 3, but as I change this, it should change how that button looks. CSS class button 5. Go back to button 3. It's that nice rounded edge. And you can do that for individual elements. So again, based on those things, you'll have to find things that kind of work for you, but CSS class button 3. Oh, just these are just the various tiers of looks like button is just a what do they call it? Not a fillet, but a rounded edge. And I can go and confirm that. I just go, okay, so what is the CSS even doing? Right? Go over here, system, designers, CSS, try and figure out round button. Yep, so that round button CSS, button 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, it's just changing the border radius in either percentage points, or for button 3, there's a hover opacity change. So when you hover over it, the opacity will change. But again, it's one of those things you kind of add it over. Yeah, and I'm not the best designer or coder in terms of CSS. I generally copy and paste what's on the internet. But that's why you're getting that button 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Stuff like App Store, I know that we have specific CSS there. You can also create CSS. That's kind of what I was doing on local a moment ago. Let's say you wanted to create some custom CSS and you don't really know how to implement it just right yet. If you go to that CSS generator, and again, that's under App Store, CSS generator is in here. You can run this flow. I believe it might even show up as catalog. Yep, it does. Catalog item, generate CSS style sheet, and you can name it Rob's, and you can just go through and line by line, prompt by prompt, make a specific style sheet that might work for you. So you can say font color. I want all my fonts to be like a lighter shade of gray. I want my primary color to be, a certain hex code based on your branding, right? I know that, you might have specific branding, but your primary color there, your secondary color, we'll make something purple. We'll do a darker shade of purple. And you're kind of just going through, and again, you can kind of form fields, rounded corners. You can add some of that stuff here. Font color. We get super ugly at this point, but when you're done with this, you'll be able to generate a CSS style sheet, cascading style sheets. I guess that was a little redundant. You'll be able to generate it so that you can use it, add it into your projects, and implement it that way. Nice, cool. Glad to help, man. And again, like I said, as I kind of click through these prompts, background color, white, border color, black, it'll make me kind of go through all these font size, black, brownish, black, light gray. Right, as I go through here, you can kind of change how these things work and look and feel. Again, you kind of got quite a bit of work to do here. Nobody said it would be easy. Font color, we don't want white, that is for sure. Border color. Oh, we'll go with that soft purple again. Here we are, just being creative. But hopefully you can see, it kind of gives you previews, and then you can generate this and add it. I don't really want to build this all the way out. So let's see if we can just. Lightning speed there. And again, here you go. Watermark styles, you can change how things kind of look. The border widths, the offsets, the radius. Here's my preview of the world's ugliest CSS. You can download it, save it, things along those lines. I'll download it, Rob CSS, and then I can implement that CSS. Over here, designers, CSS, add, document, Rob's document. Call this ugly CSS. And then I'll be able to implement that CSS. So, cool. Any other questions from anybody in the room? I know we got a few people in here. We kind of went on a detour, but I'm here for it. All right. Last couple of things I'll talk about real fast, just because I think it's important. Just realize that you can Google it. We have the QR code. We've got a couple different YouTube channels, so it can be kind of hard to find the right one. But ours is just called Decisions Training, I guess now. It used to be called Decision Support. So that's why I couldn't find it. But just be aware that we do have tons and tons of videos, and we're putting out stuff all the time. So if you do have questions about stuff, like generally speaking, you might be able to find it in here. We go, okay, active form flows or something like that. And you could find all the lunch and learns. I have these all time stamped. You can see, 13 hours ago in the middle of the night last night. I uploaded these two with one view each, but you can get the concept. So yeah, it's all on there. So just be aware that if you have questions, you might be able to find a lunch and learn or something like that that has that information for you. And again, all these are utilizing that keyword. I'm sure if I put these in quotes, they probably have more directed searching, but nope, they don't. But yeah, we have almost 700 videos at this point, so feel free to check these out. And like I said, these are the kind of from the last 2 days, time-stamped out based on the questions that we were getting. So you might be able to find some cool stuff there. But if we don't get any questions in the next couple moments, I might just go ahead and call it a session. I appreciate everybody. I'll put this one on YouTube, hopefully earlier than midnight, but I'll gladly take any questions if you have them. All right, folks. Thank you very much. Thank you to Jared and Greg and Kiki and everybody for the questions and the interaction. We will see you again tomorrow with, I believe it is Jared, smartest man I know. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you very much.